Good evening, women entrepreneurs and women professionals in the Bahamas. I'm very excited to be here. My name is Felice Bethel, and I'm the Deputy Executive Director of the Small Business Development Center. According to a recent World Bank report, there's a $300 billion gap in financing for 70% of micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises owned by women around the world. In other words, 70% of MSMEs owned by women have little or no access to funding. And this equates to a funding deficit of $300 billion. So what about funding for MSMEs owned by women in the Bahamas? Do you believe Bahamian women have equal access to entrepreneurial funding as men do? How many women-owned businesses have been funded through the Small Business Development Center? What is the minimum and maximum amount of funding women entrepreneurs can access at this time? If you came to this information session with lots of questions about funding opportunities for women entrepreneurs, then you are definitely in the right place. The person designated to answer your questions is Leo Roll, Director of Advisory Services at the Small Business Development Center. He is currently pursuing a doctorate of business administration and finance from North Central University, and has attained a master's degree in business administration from the University of Roehampton in London, England, and a bachelor's degree in secondary education from the College of the Bahamas. He is one of only 2 Bahamians certified to facilitate the professional selling skills and certified business professional suite of courses. As the Director of Client Advisory Services at the SBDC, Leo leads a team of business professionals who offer sound financial advice to the organization's clientele that bolsters the viability of their businesses. Help me welcome Mr. Leo Roll.
All right, thank you, Felice. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming to our information session. It's always a pleasure to speak to entrepreneurs in general, but a special pleasure to speak to our female entrepreneurs. And of course, we have our female entrepreneurship initiative coming up. But tonight, we want to speak to you about the opportunities that are available. And so if you can bring up the slide for me, please, the presentation, we'll get started. So the goal of this program is to help women entrepreneurs by empowering them with training, networking, mentorship, and funding opportunities ultimately. We have so many partners that are a part of this entrepreneurship journey with us, and they be the Bahamas Development Bank, the United States Embassy, of course, the Small Business Development Center, and the Bahamas Chamber of Commerce. And all of these partners come together, and obviously, for the goal of ensuring that women entrepreneurs have access and equal access to funding and so many other opportunities as mentioned. Can you take me to the next slide, please? So the overview of our program. A part of the program that we have at the Access Accelerator is 3-pronged. So you have the opportunity to connect and learn through our virtual information sessions to discuss funding opportunities for women entrepreneurs. One of the highlights of it, and I've seen the excitement, I've heard the excitement, as the head of a Director of Client Advisory Services, I've seen hundreds of women ready and waiting for this tea party. I've never been to a tea party, but I've seen the excitement. And so we have a high tea party that's going to be hosted in not only New Providence, but Grand Bahama and the Family Islands. And that is so exciting because it allows for the OR program, or the Academy of Women Entrepreneurs. Those graduates have an opportunity to come together, obviously, for networking opportunities and access to mentorship groups and other social opportunities. Additionally, there's the opportunity for access to funding. So there's grant, loan, and equity funding for startup or existing businesses. And for those of you who may not be aware of what grant, loan, and equity funding is, grant funding is a type of funding that you don't have to pay back. Loan funding is obviously debt funding that has an interest rate as well as a term attached to it. And then equity funding is when you have a partner who's taking a vested stake in your business for the opportunity to provide you with funding. So you have the opportunity through this program to access grant, loan, and equity funding, and not only for existing businesses, but also for those startup entities as well. Funding programs include Women Entrepreneurs Standalone Grant. We'll talk about that a little bit more later as the presentation goes on. You have an opportunity for a microloan program, and you have an opportunity for a guaranteed loan program, all under which for this entrepreneurial journey. Excellent access. I don't think there's ever been a program for the existence of the Access Accelerator that has the combination of a standalone grant, a matching grant, a microloan, and a guaranteed loan opportunity. So you're really in for a treat, and I hope you take advantage of this opportunity. The final tiered prong that I spoke about is promoting your business. So there will be an opportunity for weekly podcasts to feature women who own and feature women-led businesses across the Bahamas. So from Grand Bahama in the north to Nagua in the south. You have the opportunity as a female entrepreneur to be on that podcast, and it will of course have different persons who will be featured for each episode. You'll also have video features of women entrepreneurs on ZNS, cable television, and the SBDC social media platforms. One of the biggest cries of entrepreneurs usually is that they want more accessibility, they want more exposure. And so by us giving them that level of exposure, and if you look at the level of commercials we've created, the one that always plays before our presentations is so good. It makes me feel excited. I feel the entrepreneurial spirit. And so more of those opportunities will be provided for you by virtue of signing up with us on this program. We also have funding opportunities. That's what everyone wants to hear, right? Under the Women's Entrepreneur Initiative, existing and startup MSMEs can access grant, loan, and equity funding as follows. We have an opportunity for a $10,000 standalone grant, a $20,000 matching grant, a $50,000 micro loan, up to $500,000 in guaranteed loan, and of course, up to $250,000 in equity funding. So just for information, the Access Accelerator allows for the opportunity for clients to receive up to 75% or 90% of a guaranteed loan. Industries such as agriculture, fishing, manufacturing, green energy, and technology receive 90% guarantee. So we're almost giving you all of the tools, all of the support that you need, and you get a 90% guarantee if your business falls in any one of those categories. Who are our funding partners that will help us on this journey? Fidelity Bank, Royal Bank of Canada, Bahamas Development Bank, the Bahamas Entrepreneurial Venture Fund, Simplified Lending, National Workers Credit Union, and the Teachers and Salaried Workers Credit Union. All of these persons are partners in this journey. Statistics. So funding accessed by gender. Of the Access Accelerator Small Business Development Center funding, $46 million was accessed by male-owned businesses, and $26 million was accessed by women-owned businesses. The disparity between the industries in which we would have funded businesses and those women-led businesses, of course, usually as it is, the lion's share goes to food and beverage. Of course, women can cook, they're very good at that. Fashion industry, again, the lion's share goes there. Beauty, education, agriculture, professional services, and then tourism. Interesting statistic, 92% approval rate for female-owned businesses. The average funding request, when we look at the delineation between men and women, $27,000 for women entrepreneurs versus $47,000 for men entrepreneurs in virtually or essentially the same type of industry. We believe, and it's not a proven statistic, that women are accessing or requiring access to more funding to do essentially the same thing, because women are, I guess, generally frugal, and so they're able to do more with less than, I guess, a male entrepreneur. It's not a proven factor, but I think that has a lot to do with it. And the debt appetite and risk tolerance for women is lower than men, hence the 72% disparity. The Connect and Learn. The afternoon tea party, under the patronage of the Prime Minister's wife, Anne Marie Davis, Our initiative partners will host tea parties on the islands of New Providence, Abaco, Eleuthera, Andros, and Long Island. And under the patronage of Minister for Grand Bahama, the Honorable Ginger Moxie, our initiative partners will host a tea party in Grand Bahama. The theme for this tea party is Get Comfortable with Being Uncomfortable, and the keynote speaker is Miss Sherelle Sampson, CEO of Canvia. Before we move on to our accessing funding side, I just wanted to mention that the host for our Providence Tea Party is Anastasia Palacios. So you know you're in for a good time. And so I really wish I could have joined you. I would love to be there to see what all the spectacle and the splendor is about, but I know that Anastasia will give you a great opportunity and a great time. So how do you access funding? Women Entrepreneurs Initiative Standalone Grant Program. The application actually launches today and has a very short window of the 28th of April. That's the opportunity for you to access up to $10,000 in a standalone grant program. Additionally, if you're seeking funding of up to $70,000, you have an opportunity to access our microloan program, which is a grant and loan tied combination of $50,000 in a microloan, $20,000 in a matching grant. Finally, if you're seeking more than the $70,000 and the $10,000, you have an opportunity to access up to $500,000 in our guaranteed loan program. And the application launch date is as well today. What is the process like for accessing this funding? So the application process is fairly simple. For the Women Entrepreneurs Standalone Grant Program, you complete the Gender Equality Survey. That survey went live last week, and we have had a tremendous appetite for that survey so far. And so a lot of persons are already completing the survey, which is essentially the first step in the process. You have to watch the required training videos. Submit the application documents, so an executive summary, simply speaking about your business. Who's the face behind it? What does the business entail? When did you get started? Who are your target customers? Who's your audience? So it gives a snapshot of the business without the person or the adjudicator reading your entire business plan. You need your valid passport page or voter's card, your valid business license or proof of renewal. We know that the process right now is a bit stagnant. And so if you can provide us with an email that shows proof that you submitted for renewal, that will help, or that will be enough, sufficient to validate your application. We need your vendor invoices. The reason why we need your vendor invoices is because we do not cut checks. We do not pay cash. We will simply wire directly to a business bank account of each of your vendors of choice. And of course, we need the wired instructions for your vendors. Approval or denial notice provided in writing within 14 business days of your application submissions. Again, the funding is up to $10,000. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to apply for $10,000, but it's up to $10,000. Next slide for me, please. The approval process for the microloan and guaranteed loan program. So you submit the application documents for first review. The second review will be conducted if it's deemed necessary. And so each business plan has to score at minimum 80 points. And if the business plan does not score a minimum of 80 points, then what will happen is you'll get a second review and you'll need an opportunity to go ahead and have it revised. You have the investment committee pitch. And so the business plan, for the business plan, the SBDC will subsidize up to $1,500 of the writer's fee. Now, if anyone has been familiar with the SBDC's process, you will note that this is 3 times our normal amount. You see how much we love the female entrepreneurs here? This is 3 times our normal amount of $500. What we also want to note, though, is that the plan has to be approved by the investment committee in order for that $1,500 to be paid. Additionally, we need your vendor invoices, wiring instructions, corporate documents. So those are your certificate of incumbency, your directors, shareholders registry, the shareholders resolution to obtain funding. All of those documents, if you are a limited liability company, will be needed. You'll have to provide for us as well. You need your key personal resumes. So for every person in your business that has a 10% or more stake, we need those key personal resumes. We need the SBDC business overview, which is a document that we will essentially provide you to complete on your business, the SBDC non-disclosure agreement, the BDB cover page, the BDB disclosure agreement, a personal statement of affairs on everyone who has a 10% or more vested stake in your business if it is a limited liability company. However, what I want to note is I find it oftentimes that you have to be honest, as open and honest and transparent as you can when you're filling out that personal statement of affairs. Here's why. If in fact you do have a charged off loan or a bad debt, it doesn't necessarily mean that you will be completely denied for funding. You have to, though, disclose honestly any charged off loan, any type of bad debt that you had, because if we find after the application has been vetted and it goes through that you actually were not forthcoming with information on that PSOA, you are automatically disqualified from the program. And I would not want that to happen to anyone on the call. So be honest, be upfront. Of course, your driver's license, your NIV card, for anyone, again, who has a 10% or more stake in the business, and historical financials. If the business is already operating, we need your historical financial statements because it provides us with a snapshot of how the business was operating, which were your sales like, what were your expenses like up to that point. And so again, we provide up to $500 for you to be able to access an accountant, and that accountant will assist you with your historical financials. How does the funding work? Up to $20,000 of it will be grant. It cannot be more than half the ask. So let's assume that you're asking for $30,000 in a microloan. Then only, even though our max is $20,000 of grant, you can only access $15,000 because the grant and loan have to be half and half. Now, if you're going beyond the half and half amount, so let's say you're asking for $150,000, and of course, even though I said it has to be less than half the ask, the grant portion will only be $20,000. The remaining will, of course, be in the microloan or the guaranteed loan. And up to $50,000 microloan will be allowed per your application. Now, the investment committee pitch. So each person who has the opportunity to pitch to our investment committee will sit before a team of 8 rotating members with expertise in various professional industries, and will review the business plan and listen to the entrepreneur's business pitch. Another thing to note here is that your business plan will be provided to those investment committee members ahead of time. So it's usually a week lead time because we want them to have the opportunity to read your plan in its entirety, to understand the parameters of your plan, and be well informed when it comes to asking those questions and helping you to be prepared for your application going out to the financial institutions. Based on the business owner's ability to present and defend her business plan and funding requests, the committee members will independently complete an online rubric with 10 voting criteria, including but not limited to business viability, management expertise, realistic projections, regulatory compliance, owner's investment, strategic partnerships, and innovative products and services. 5 of the 8 committee members must agree that the business plan and funding application scores 80 points or higher. The microloan portion of the funding request will be conditionally approved for up to $50,000. As well, the IDB or MIGA guarantee will automatically be approved between 75 to 90% for the guaranteed loan portion of the funding request, up to $500,000. A matching grant of up to $20,000 may also be approved. Grant and microloan approval letters will be signed and disbursements will commence with standard guidelines. Loan approval letters will be forwarded to the financial institutions for the loan applications review and subsequent approval. That's our process in a nutshell. That's our program in a nutshell. I'm excited for you entrepreneurs. I'm excited for this opportunity. I'm open now to your questions.
Good day. Hello. Can I ask a question, please?
You may.
Hi. Okay. So thank you guys for putting on this amazing program for us. I'm sure I can speak for most of the ladies here, and I say we're really excited and happy that you guys are doing this. But I wanted to ask, so about maybe like 3 or 4 weeks ago, I put in for the standalone grant. But this is obviously a bit more like catered towards me as a female entrepreneur. Do I resubmit? Do I speak to my advisor again? Like, how do I direct my application more towards this?
So great question. Thank you for that, Roxanne. Yes, all of our opportunities stand on their own. And so while we're still in the adjudication process of the standalone creative entrepreneur grant, which was up to $5,000, this program is a new program. And so, yes, you can simply go ahead and resubmit the application for this program while that other program is being adjudicated. We have a number of initiatives for the rest of the year that are on tap. And so you'll be very excited to stay tuned and take a second look at what the Access Accelerator has to offer.
Okay, thank you so much.
Very welcome.
Good evening. I have a question as well.
Sure. And if you, Keithra, give me a minute. If you have a question, you don't want to unmute your mic, ladies, you can simply type it in the chat and it will be relayed to me and I respond. Go ahead, Keithra.
Okay, I typed it in the chat, but I will ask. I wanted to know two things. I have never been assigned an advisor. On numerous occasions, I've reached out to be assigned. So I wanted to know, what can I do now to be assigned an advisor? Secondly, I wanted to know what were the payment instructions for local vendors. If you want to purchase items locally, what, besides getting the quote, what else do we need to get?
All right, Keisha, sorry. First one, apologize for the lapse in communication with not providing you with an advisor. That really should not have happened. And nonetheless, what I will take the opportunity to do then is to give you my email. You can email me directly at leo.roll@spdcbahamas.com. I'm sure the comms team is typing it in the chat. Send me an email, send me your business name and your information. I'll go ahead and make sure that you're assigned an advisor. Now, it may be on a temporary basis until such time that you're a fully funded client, but we can go ahead and provide you with a level of advisory services. So let me first apologize and assure you that we'll do that. Secondly, when we talk about vendor instructions, what we're asking for is the bank information, the name on the account, the type of account it is. So it's usually BSD, savings or checking, the branch in which the account is opened, transit of that branch, and then the amount that you're asking for to go to or be wired to that actual account. So that's all it is. Don't feel scared. It's simply the instructions for where we're paying the funds.
Okay, good afternoon.
Hello, Latasha. How are you?
Thank you so much. I'm fine, thank you. I just wanted to know, how do I access the training videos? I guess, in order to apply for the standalone grant. Like, is there a link or something, or?
Or so I can go ahead and quickly answer that question. Once you've submitted your Women Entrepreneurs Standalone Grant application, you will receive a thank you message. And there's a link that you can click on to access the 5 training videos. I'll also copy and paste a link to the training videos in a few minutes.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you, Latasha. So I'm trying to read the chat as we speak, and I see someone very excited saying that they have all the Chinaware for the tea. I welcome you to bring it. I won't be there to see it, but I'm sure the females on the team will keep me well informed. Would you accept instructions from international vendors? Yes, Rhonda, we will accept instructions from international vendors. They, though, have to provide us with the instructions for wiring it. Now, most people tend to accept PayPal or some method of that nature, or a credit card. We do not do that. And so what you will have to do is find a local courier that can purchase, ship, and clear the items for you from that international vendor, and we will disperse directly to the local courier. So that's a workaround if the international vendor is not comfortable with providing you with their banking information. If I missed the date, when is the next time? Well, Bernadette, as I said earlier, we have a number of initiatives scheduled for the rest of the year. It may not be the same as this one, but if you do miss the date for this one, you just keep on stream for what we have coming up for the rest of the year. Keither, what are the requirements in terms of paying local vendors? We answered that already. I'm an accountant. Oh my goodness, someone is advertising. Way to go, female entrepreneur. Where do I find training videos for the standalone grant? We answered that already. Where do I find, okay. Will the recording of the session be available? Go, you'll respond, you'll ask me, please.
Right, so I responded to some of the questions already in the chat. What was coming from our Facebook audience? One, do vendors that entrepreneurs use along with their application have to be Bahamian?
So, no, I think that we answered that question already relative to international vendors. If it's an international vendor, feel free to provide us with the instructions to wire those funds to that international vendor. Or if they say they're not comfortable, simply ask them, you can use a local courier that can ship, purchase, and clear the equipment, and then we'll disperse directly to the local courier.
Do you disperse to personal bank accounts or only to business bank accounts?
No, we will not disperse to a personal bank account. It has to be a business bank account.
The business bank account of the entrepreneur or the business bank account of the vendor?
If we disperse to the business bank account of the entrepreneur, essentially we're giving the entrepreneur the grant themselves. So it has to be for the vendor.
Okay. Where does the $100,000 loan fall? Will the $20,000 grant be included?
Great question. So yes, if it is that you're looking for a $100,000 loan, the $20,000 grant can be a component of that loan. And the balance of the 80,000 can of course be garnered from debt funding or
Okay.
Generally.
So tell me something, if a woman accesses 10,000 through the standalone grant, could she also access $20,000 through the guaranteed loan program along with the 80,000 that they're asking about?
Absolutely. So as I said before, this is perhaps a very strange anomaly or someone just being very generous to female entrepreneurs, which I love. This is the first time that it has happened, and female entrepreneurs have the ability to access that standalone grant of 10,000, that matching grant of 20,000, and the funding through the debt or equity funding that we spoke about. So yes, the answer is yes.
And so I see a question just popped up. How are the grants being prioritized, or are the grants being prioritized?
So they definitely are. The investment committee actually, wait a minute, which grant are you speaking about? The standalone grant or the grant?
Standalone grant.
So the standalone grant is first come, first qualified, first served basis until our funding is depleted. So I'd recommend that you get your application in right away. The application portal opens tonight with first come, first qualified, first served basis.
Okay, actually, the application, I think people have been submitting since this morning.
Oh,
and
wow.
so, right. And the thing is, though, if the survey participation is any indication of how popular this grant program will be, because maybe a few minutes ago, survey responses were up to 450. And so those were women who were just waiting for the grant application to open. And so this is going to be a very competitive grant process. I believe this is one of the highest standalone grant approval amounts that have been awarded through the SBDC, and this is being offered especially for women entrepreneurs, so definitely take advantage. So Leo, in talking about the survey, one of the comments was that women believe that, well, 33% of women believe that they have equal access to entrepreneurial funding. Why do you think such a low percentage of women believe this?
I don't know. And again, I think it goes back to the statistic that we had where women usually request less funding. And so I don't know whether they're risk averse or debt funding averse. And so I think in terms of the equal opportunity, a lot of times women entrepreneurs, at least most of them that I know, when I listen to their story, rather than going to the bank or going somewhere looking for funding, they simply scrounge their own meager resources and they work and save until they can actually invest in their own business. So I don't know whether it's an equal access or opportunity to funding versus them knowing that this is my vision, this is my dream, and come hell or high water, I'm going to make it to the end. And if that means going in 10 ASUs for the year to make sure it's done, I find that most of the female entrepreneurs I know have been doing it that way, and I applaud you for doing it.
Okay, so there's a question. Is there a cap for the standalone grant?
So the standalone grant is capped at $10,000. Yes, it is.
Okay, quick other question. What are the interest rates on microloans and guaranteed loans?
So the guaranteed loan interest rates vary based on the financial institution for whom is approving it. The lowest I've seen is 6.25. The highest is maybe about around 8 or 8.5. And our micro loan rate is usually between 5 and 6%.
Okay, so someone is asking, what will increase the chances for each individual being granted a loan?
So very good question. There are a number of aspects that increase your chances of getting a loan, but I find that one of the biggest is, of course, ensuring that your business plan is bulletproof, well written, and ensuring that you know your business. So a bigger thing, though, is making sure that your business is addressing a market problem. One of the instances, or one of the biggest problems, is that everyone seems to be going into saturated markets or going into a market where there really isn't a need. And so if you can demonstrate based on your business plan and your business acumen that you have done your market research, there is a market problem, and your business intends to solve that market problem, and here are the ways that you intend to solve it, and here is the way that I intend to make money, and here is the way that I intend to ensure that my expenses don't cannibalize my revenue, then your chances of being successful at the loan opportunity are heightened.
Okay, so someone is asking, is there a template for the personal statement of affairs available?
Yes, we actually provide you with the personal statement of affairs template, and it's just a matter of you completing it. And as I said, you have to be very honest, very transparent, and document everything relative to your finances.
So how does this person get a copy of, or the template for the personal statement of affairs? Do they need to simply email us? And if they do, what is our email address?
So our email address is helpdesk@sbdcbahamas.com. And you can simply send us an email, or you can call 461-7232 or slap us 359-0626, and we will go ahead and get you the personal statement of affairs.
Okay, so somebody is asking you to put back up the slide for the requirements for the 10,000 standalone grant. So I don't know if you want to quickly go back to that slide and just do a refresher in terms of what the requirements are.
Tech team should be pulling it up shortly, but in the interim, I see that there was someone who had a hand up. I think it's Baha something. Do you still have a question? All right, so the application process requires for the standalone grant a completed gender equality survey. As I said before, that survey is live on our website. It's been live since last week. You have to watch the required training videos, and after you complete the application, you'll get a link to the training videos. Please, 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 we have this problem all the time. Our back end, I guess, hieroglyphics are strong enough and systematic enough to know how long you've been in the videos. Please do not scroll through them straight to the end, because it will show that you have not sat in the videos and watched them. So you have to watch the required training videos. You have to submit the application documents, including an executive summary, which is no more than 3 pages, and it gives the adjudicator the opportunity to have a snapshot of your business in no more than 3 pages. You need your valid passport page or voter's card, a valid business license or proof of renewal, because we know that there's a backup at the Inland Revenue Office with business license renewals. So once you can provide us with an email outlining that you intend to apply to renew your license, that's good for us. We need your vendor invoices. Of course, the vendor invoices have to come from a business, not a personal account. We need the wiring instructions in terms of how we are going to pay these vendor invoices. And then, of course, approval or denial will be provided in 14 days, hence the application process. Up to $10,000 in a standalone grant.
Okay. So some more burning questions. Is this program for new business ideas or existing businesses only?
So it's for both startup and existing businesses. But when you say new business idea, if your idea is still, I call it in the conceptualization phase, meaning you don't have a business license, you haven't done all of that yet, then I don't think you have enough time for this particular program. But if you are an existing business, and for us, the opportunity, definition of an existing business is a business that has been in operation for 12 months or more. A startup business is a business that's been in existence for 12 months or less, then you are invited to go ahead and apply.
Okay, so someone else is asking, can I apply for more than one grant if I have more than one business I want to start?
So we always get this question. It's a very good question. Thank you for that. The short answer is yes, you can apply, but the likelihood of being approved when we want to help as many women entrepreneurs as we can, or female entrepreneurs as we can. So the likelihood of being approved for all of those different businesses is slim to none. But we can't stop you from applying if you're what we call a serial entrepreneur.
Okay, so someone says, do service, not product-based businesses such as coaching and training, have a fighting chance for the standalone grant against the tangible product-heavy business?
They definitely do. So when we're actually adjudicating the application, the team doesn't look at whether you're a service or a product-based entity. They look at how well you put together your executive summary. They look at the market problem you're actually solving. A service business may very well be solving a huge market problem, and they may be catapulted above a product-based business that really doesn't have a backing. So it doesn't matter for us whether you are product or service-based, as long as your application is solid.
Okay, so someone else is saying, my passport is expired, but one of our shareholders who is a female has a valid passport. Can I submit hers, or does it need to be the information for who's applying? Also, can an incorporation apply for the grant?
Good question. So we would invite you to provide us with your other IDs that are actually valid, because it's passport or voter's card. Additionally, you will actually need all of those documents for all of the members of your partners in your business once they have a 10% or more vested stake. So yes, you need her passport as well as whatever ID you have that is actually valid.
Okay, how many 10K standalone grants for women are currently available?
At this present moment, there's only one opportunity. As I said before, we do have a budget. I won't disclose it here, but it's a first come, first qualified, first served basis.
Okay, so most vendors provide invoices after purchase. Will a quote be sufficient?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Obviously, I understand that they won't provide an invoice because it essentially ties them to something that they didn't actually sell to you. So they will provide you with a quote, and then you will provide that quote to us with the wiring instructions, and that will be sufficient for us to execute.
What if one of my vendors is Amazon?
Good question again. So Amazon typically will not give you their banking information. And so a strategic way that we have implemented to help entrepreneurs who have the opportunity to get access to or to get supplies from Amazon is going to a local courier. We will not recommend any to you. So you do your homework, go to a local courier. They usually provide you with a service where they will buy the items for you, ship the items for you, and clear the items for you. And that way we will disperse directly to that local courier or that local shipping company.
Is there an age limit on the younger end or older end for the grant?
So there is no age limit on the older end, but of course you have to be have legal age to apply, which is 18 years old.
Okay, so back to some Facebook questions. Is the microloan program closing at the end of this month as well?
Felice, you want to take that question?
No, you take it.
So
the microloan program is just like the guaranteed loan program. Yeah.
It won't close. It won't close at the end of this initiative.
Exactly. So there's another question. I made some errors on my application. Can I resubmit my application, please?
Yes, you can go ahead and resubmit, but what it will do is put you lower in the queue. Because it will show that you're just applying, even though it's the same application from earlier. So you can go ahead and resubmit.
The thing is, though, even if you have your application saved, you should be able to go back and make changes to your application before the deadline. So, but your application will not be counted as submitted until you're complete with it. Um, Good evening. I make straw bags, and I'm 100% sure that the older ladies that I buy plat from cannot provide me with quotes. Should I even apply?
Oh my goodness. So essentially those older ladies will not be a business anyway. So I would recommend perhaps looking for someone who can provide you with those material that you need to plait your straw work. That is an actual business. There are some of them because we have quite a bit of straw vendors that are clients and they are using persons with legitimate banking information. So 10 to 1, those older ladies, bless their heart, would not have been able to access our funding anyway.
So we're getting quite a number of questions about the guaranteed loan program. Can you talk about what the grant, loan, and equity options are under the guaranteed loan program, and how people can go about applying? What is your recommendation in terms of how they structure their funding in terms of, how do they allocate it? Maybe 10% grant, 50% loan. What are your recommendations?
All right, so let me start first by letting you know how to apply. There is a link on our website and it will ask you at the bottom if you want to apply for the guaranteed loan program. That will allow you to upload your business plan, upload your KYC documents. The delineation of how it works is we have up to 20,000 in a matching grant. We have up to 500,000 in a guaranteed loan and up to $250,000 of equity. So let me give you an example. Let's say someone is looking for $520,000. They can say, well, hey, I want 250,000 in equity because I don't mind having someone who has a vested interest or a stake in my business. Then they can say, I want 250 in debt funding. And then they can say, I also want to apply for the grant, which will bring me up to the 520,000. That requires you to have a business plan, your KYC documents. You will, as I said before, come before our investment committee to pitch your idea. And once you have pitched your idea and defended your business, we will then send your application out to our funding partners. Bahamas Entrepreneurial Venture Fund is our partner for equity. And of course, as I mentioned before, Fidelity Bank, Royal Bank, Bahamas Development Bank, and the two credit unions, which are the Teachers Credit Union and Workers Credit Union, are our funding partners that assist us in those initiatives.
Okay, so if a business exists but is expanding to multiple locations with separate needs, is that multiple applications or one?
So I congratulate you for expanding to separate needs. That's what we love to see because it shows that whatever you're doing as an entrepreneur is working. And so no, it can all go under one application, and in your use of funds, you can simply outline what aspect will be the funding will go to. As long as you meet our criteria for an MSME, and an MSME in our vernacular is a business that earns less than 5 million annual revenue, employs less than 50 people, and is more than 51% Bahamian owned.
Okay, can you apply for the standalone grant of 10,000 and the microloan?
Yes, you can. So as I said before, you can get the $10,000 standalone grant, you can get the 20,000 matching grant, and you can get up to the 50,000 in microloan.
Is funding available for nonprofit organizations?
So at this present time, no. You have to be a for-business entity. Now, a for-profit entity, sorry. If your nonprofit organization has an arm of the business that is generating revenue, then you can apply. But for a nonprofit, no, because the business has to be generating revenue. Think of it, there's a loan that's going to be tied to this. And so if you don't have the means to pay the loan back, then essentially the likelihood of being approved is limited.
What if I need help with my business plan? Do you help with that?
Absolutely. So under this initiative, we provide up to $1,500 assistance for your business plan and up to $500 assistance for your financial statements to be prepared. As I said before, the business plan has to be approved by our committee in order for that $1,500, to be paid.
So I want to be clear. when you say under this initiative, they can access $1,500 for their business plan preparation, do you mean the standalone grant? Or do
No.
you mean the microloan or guaranteed loan program?
The microloan or guaranteed loan program that's tied, because remember the standalone grant doesn't have a business plan component. You're only providing the executive summary.
Okay, so someone is inquiring, when is the tea party date and time?
So y'all really throwing it in my face, right? So the tea party is on Sunday, the 23rd. It's at Margaritaville, and I don't remember the time offhand. What time is it, please?
It's 3 to 5, but you are required to RSVP.
Okay. Now, I'll tell you though, we have a list of persons that we have actually sent invitations to. So
Exactly.
we want to make sure that those persons, because we can only accommodate up to 160 people, it's not a wide open range. But we will, as I said before, have other initiatives throughout the year, and each initiative has an event tied to it. So feel free to keep abreast.
Okay, so I just see a few repetitive questions about the application date. And so the standalone grant will be open until April 28th.
Mhm.
So at midnight, April 29th, the grant application will be closed. You have more than enough time to compile the documents. As Leo mentioned earlier, it's just an executive summary. Your business license, if you don't have your 2023 business license, you can upload your 2022 license and notification from the business license office saying that they're in the process of renewing your application. Then there's the government ID, either passport or voter's card, vendor invoices, as well as your vendor wire instructions. So those are things that you should be able to quickly compile. Leo also mentioned that applications will be approved on a first come, first served basis. So actually, we're thinking to start the adjudication process this week, simply because we know there's going to be a lot of applications coming in. So we're going to start the process of going through the applications, checking to see who has submitted all of the documentation. If you weren't on the call at the beginning, the first step to be eligible is completing the gender equality survey. The second thing is to complete the standalone grant application. Then you need to watch the 5 training videos. Those are the 3 steps that you need to complete. Preston, if you're listening, if you can drop those 3 steps again in the chat. Let's see if there are any more questions for you, Leo.
So I saw one with Darnell asking in San Salvador, when is her tea party? So the closest tea party to Darnell will be in Long Island. And so you would probably, if you're on the island, or if you're, anywhere in one of our other islands that is popular, that has a presence, that would be the closest. So no, there's not one scheduled for San Salvador. I apologize.
So there's a question, where can I seek assistance with filling out the necessary paperwork needed for applying? Is that something that is offered?
Very good question. I don't want to bombard our client liaison team because they're very small, but if you are, the application is very, very simple. I went through it today. There are 7 pages. I would recommend that you probably get someone to assist you, but if you are really, really in dire straits, no one to assist, and stop into the office, and even if I have to help you myself, I'll help you to complete.
Okay. So again, someone is asking, can they be the recipient of both the Creative Entrepreneurs and the Women Entrepreneurs grants?
Yes, like I said before, our programs stand on their own. And so that grant has been or is being adjudicated. And if you apply for the Women Entrepreneurs, of course, one of the adjudication criteria is we look to see if you've been funded before. And if you've just been funded the Creative Entrepreneurs grant, then perhaps we may look at someone else who may be in more need. But there's nothing to say that you can't apply for this one and qualify as well.
So here's a nice question for you, Leo. What if my husband's name is on the business license?
So this is a great question, right? Because it was a source of debate in office, and I am of the view that yes, you should be able to apply. At present, I'll tell you that as long as it's on a first come, first served basis. So we will look at all parameters. The answer right now is it is for strictly women-owned businesses, but we will look to see if a female owns at least 51% or more of the business, and we will possibly give it consideration.
Right, but there has to be some documentation
Absolutely.
that shows that you do have 51% ownership. And usually the business license would be the document to do that. If you are incorporated, then you may have some shareholders certificates, that sort of thing. Let's see if there are any more questions. So there are a few I guess, questions around the SBDC recommending a courier for businesses that need to import products. Is that something that we recommend?
No. So we encourage that the entrepreneur does their own homework and takes the onus and responsibility to ensure that they find someone who's reputable and someone who's done it before, but we will not recommend a courier.
Okay. Someone else, I guess this is in response to something which you were saying about business plans and how we issue the $1,500 vouchers. So somebody is asking, how can we get the funds to have our business plans done?
So when you apply for the application, it will, when you apply, sorry, for the guaranteed loan application through this program, it will ask you if you have a business plan. If you do, it will ask you to upload it. If you don't, then of course, we will reach out to determine whether it is that you need assistance for this $1,500 to assist with the business plan writing. It will have to be through one of our vetted writers, of course, but you can go ahead and apply, and then we will assist you and assess whether it makes sense, because if the business is one where it may be a saturated market, where you're still in the idea of fleshing it out, you haven't done a lot of the research, there's not much information that you can provide the writer, the likelihood of us expending the resources are slim to none. But if you have all your ducks in a row, you have your, this is my information, I've done my research, here's what I want, here's what I need, here's where I'm going, then you will be a prime candidate for that program.
Okay, so we have way more questions than we have time to answer, but I will try to squeeze in about 3 more questions. And Leo, at the end of the 3rd question, if you can share contact information, because like I said, obviously we have a whole lot of questions tonight, and we want people to have the best fighting chance. So the question is, what is the difference between the $10,000 standalone grant and the $20,000 matching grant?
So the $10,000 standalone grant is just that. It's a standalone grant. You can access it on its own. The matching grant has to be tied to the guaranteed loan or the micro loan. So you can't simply say, okay, so I want the $10,000 standalone grant, but I also want the $20,000 matching grant with no component or tied loan to it. And so that is incumbent on either your guaranteed loan or your micro loan, whereas the standalone grant you can simply apply for without asking for anything else.
Okay, so I think this is an important question that keeps coming up. Is the Tea Party open to the public?
No, not at this time. We have a strict list of SBDC funded clients, as well as community partners, as well as persons who assist us in our initiatives. And those invites have already gone out. We can only accommodate up to 160 people. So if you did not get an email inviting you, then I do apologize. It's not open.
Okay, so the last question before you recap what the $10,000 standalone grant is about, the microloan and guaranteed loan, and we have less than 3 minutes to do all that. How recent do quotes and invoices need to be?
Well, quotes, invoices, checks, all of that will still dated at 3 months. And so the invoices should be no older than 3 months. But if this is a brand new initiative, I couldn't see why you can't get the quote tomorrow or last week or something of that nature. But it can't be longer than 3 months.
Okay, so can you recap for us, sir, about the $10,000 standalone grant, how people can apply, what are the steps, and then quickly, what is the funding available above 10,000?
Absolutely. So for this program, we have the standalone grant opportunity. The first step is completing our gender equality survey. It's live on our website now. Second step is completing the application. Once you complete the application with your executive summary, your valid passport page, or your photos card, your business license or proof of renewal, your vendor invoices, your wiring instructions. Remember, we're only paying in an actual business, not a personal account. Then once you have applied, you'll get the link to go ahead and watch the training videos. The algorithms are very sensitive, so you have to sit and actually watch them rather than scrolling through. You can access up to $10,000 through the standalone grant only. We also have a microloan and matching grant opportunity. You can access a microloan of up to $50,000 with a matching grant of up to $20,000. Again, you're submitting the application documents for first review. Those application documents include a business plan, which will help by subsidizing $1,500, vendor invoices, wiring instructions, your corporate documents, if you are incorporated, your key personal resumes for anyone with a 10% or more stake in the business overview, the non-disclosure agreement for BDB, the cover page, the non-disclosure agreement for SBDC, the personal statement of affairs, again, for anyone who has a 10% or more stake in your business, your driver's license and an IB card, for anyone who has a 10% or more stake in your business, your historical financials. We will assist you with $500 in getting those historical financials, and then you can access up to $500,000 through our guaranteed loan, or up to $70,000 with our micro loan, which is $50,000 and a matching grant of $20,000, or in the guaranteed loan case, whatever your guaranteed loan amount is, less than $500,000 with a matching grant of $20,000. Again,
Right on the money.
Recap. We want you to reach out to us today at helpdesk@sbdcbahamas.com. You can call us at 461-7232, or you can WhatsApp us at 359-0626.
Good evening, everyone.
Thank you.
I started Genesis in 2006, so we're going now on to 17 years.
Genesis is a small, private, Christian K-12 school environment.
What makes Genesis Academy so special is that we have a very defined purpose.
Because we're a small school environment, we're very strong and big on communication. And so there's a strong partnership among parents, staff, teachers, and students so that we can get the best possible academic, social, behavioral, emotional, spiritual product out of that child. So we opened our STEAM lab in the middle of COVID. To date, it's one of the favorite subjects of students. Access Accelerator put a lot of things in reach for Genesis to be able to get that injection of help when we really needed it, and to give us that step up so that we could continue growing and expanding our business.
To learn more about the Women Entrepreneurs Initiative, visit our website or contact us, and remember, empowered women empower women.